All right, guys, Rooster here in Tennessee, and first thing you notice, not on the regular test bench here. I've got my makeshift test bench set up here, test cart, if you want to call it that. Bird dummy load down there, and we've got an Ameritron AL800H. This is a dual 3cx800 amp. Show you the meters of it there. We're idling around 2500 plate volts. It will be a little bit higher than that if your line voltage is higher. Earlier it was around 2700, so my line voltage is probably down. Probably everybody around here's probably got their heat running, so probably got the voltage down a little bit. Runs on 220, 240. Obviously not a 110 volt amp. A little bit about this. Again, steel tubes, ceramic tubes, whatever you want to call them. 3cx800s. It has two of them in it. Brand new retail on one of these, I believe, is around $5,000 plus your shipping and plus the wait time. So keep that in mind. It does have a 3-minute warm up. When it first comes on, only one LED light will be on. I think this one. And when it's ready to talk on, this one comes on. So when you first turn it on, don't be alarmed if only one light's on, because they will both eventually come on when the amp is ready to talk on. Two tuners here, and it does have adjustable inputs in the back, and you've got your operate and standby here. It does work with a foot pedal. As you can see, when we key the foot pedal down, the transmit light comes on. Lots of safety features built into these to keep you from overdriving them, keep you from killing the tubes that are in them. If you have it out of tune, or if you're overdriving it, you'll see this OL light come on, and the amp will go into protection mode. To get it out of protection, you simply flip it, operate, standby, back to operate, okay? They're a little finicky to tune. It's not like tuning a regular sweep tube amp. You just grab the tuners and max it out. If it goes into protection mode, you will either have to increase or decrease, more than likely, the load knob until you get into a safe area with it. My recommendation when tuning one of these, when you first tune it, is to tune it with a carrier. Let's say you plan on swinging 100 watts into it, PEP. Start out with a 20 or 30 watt dead key maybe, and get it close to being in tune. Then you can peak it out with modulation if you want to. I tuned it for PEP. I went ahead and tuned it for peak power. If I tuned it for average, it would show a little more. And I had a couple of different ideas about how I was going to test it. For the ham guys out there that are interested in it, and I do have a couple of customers that are hams that were talking to me about buying this. I did think about testing it with an HF rig. I have HF rigs, ICOMs, Kenwoods, all that. The only thing is, it won't show forward average power if you use an HF rig, because HF rigs don't have enough forward modulation to show average power going forward. So some people that matters, some people it doesn't. They'll show great PEP, but they won't swing forward on average. So, recommended drive for this thing. I've got the single tuber that's also for sale. I'm going to say between 150 and 180 watts PEP max. Now, we're not going to be putting near that much into it. We're actually going to be driving it with this little C40 here, Carl built, and I will show you guys what it's doing real quick. I've got a 500 watt slug in here to start out. Hello. Hello. So audio, like 50 watts average. And then PEP. Hello. Audio. Barely over 100. So we're not even going to be driving this thing to full output. In my opinion, we're putting about 3/4 input into it. So keep that in mind. We're only running at about 3/4 output when you see how much this thing is doing. It is capable of doing more, but everything I have to test it with either does too much or not enough. You notice the amp runs really quiet. Internal fan built into it, runs nice quiet, nice and cool. So what we're putting into it, 105, 110 watts PEP, 50 watts average. Just for reference, I've got it pretty close to being tuned completely out. It might be down 100 watts here or there. Again, with my line voltage fluctuating, it's been floating between 2500 and 2700 plate volts. I think that's all to tell about it. It's fully functional. You can see the bands that are available for it here. It hasn't been mono banded or anything like that. It is fully functional. So if you're a ham and a CB'er, you want to run it for both. Yes, lots of guys do that. You will be able to do that if that's what you choose to do with the amp. Bird dummy load. We're not on a live antenna. So let's get on with the show here. First things first, we will test average power. See if I can do this here. Gonna multitask. Got to use my feet and my hands. So middle scale. That's a 5,000 watt slug we've got in there right now. So we'll key the amp first. Audio. 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 That's around 1150 to 1200 watts average power with about a 600 watt dead key. Now think again. We're only putting 50 watts average in, and we're seeing 11 to 1200 out, so that's a pretty good amount of gain. Now I'm just going to go to peak. Peak kit's turned on there. Still looking at the middle scale. For reference, 20 is going to be 2000. Hello, audio, 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 audio. About 23 to 2400 PEP. Now again, earlier when my plate voltage was up a little bit, it was hitting a little bit closer to 2500, but right now hitting about 2300 PEP. Still pretty close. Now they claim the single tuber is a 1250 watt PEP amp. It will do more than that. They claim this one, 2500 watt PEP amp. It will do more than that. We'll easily do legal limit. Most of your HF rigs do about 100 watts PEP. As you can see, this thing with 100 watts PEP going way over legal limit. You could probably get by 50 to 60 watts PEP to see a legal limit out of this thing if you're a ham and that's your objective. If you're not a ham, I will tell you this thing will do way more than what I'm showing it doing. I just don't have the right driver to do that with. Everything I have either does a little too much or not quite enough. So it was better to drive it with not quite enough than to drive it with way too much, in my opinion. So that's it, guys. Ameritron AL800. Doing this video because I have several people wanting to buy some amps right now. I've got this one, as far as tube amps go, a single Ameritron AL800, an immaculate Drake L4B that has been completely refurbished, power supply and deck, a Pride DX300 that Grinder has gone through, and a few other things that we might test here. But we're going to try to do some tube amp videos. I haven't done some in a while. No shipping on these, guys. I don't want to ship them. Unless you're willing to take all the risk and pay me a considerable amount to pack it and insure it and everything else, and that means you're taking the risk if it gets damaged. I will pack it to the best of my ability, but I would rather not ship. Local pickup preferred on these. So a nice amp. I will price it well below what they are brand new. Make somebody a fair deal on it. And again, more tube amp videos coming up. This one's possibly sold. I've got a good customer, a good friend that's interested. I've got a couple of other customers that are interested. But a lot of people like to see stuff run before they get it. So this is an easy way to show it. That way, I don't have to have a million people coming by here and watching it run in person. I can do one video and everybody sees it run. So Ameritron AL800H, it's a beast of an amp. Doesn't have a big footprint, so doesn't take up a ton of room, but one heck of an amplifier here. Should last somebody forever if you run it like this. That's it, guys. Questions, comments, shoot me a text, 423-299-3535. Rooster in Tennessee. See you, bye.